Picture this: Stan Lee, the legendary co-creator of iconic heroes like Spider-Man and the Hulk, didn't kick off his cinematic journey in a flashy Marvel blockbuster. Instead, his very first big-screen appearance unfolded in a quirky, under-the-radar R-rated thriller called The Ambulance, a film that trades capes and superpowers for something far more sinister. It's a surprising twist that highlights Lee's adventurous spirit beyond the superhero universe, and it's sure to make you rethink his multifaceted legacy. But here's where it gets intriguing. Why would a comic book icon like Lee appear in a story about a rogue ambulance kidnapping New Yorkers? Let's dive in and uncover the fascinating backstory, along with why this film deserves a closer look. Even if you're not a die-hard fan of cult classics, Stan Lee's impact on pop culture was nothing short of revolutionary. Over more than 60 years, he helped transform Marvel Comics into a global powerhouse, minting billions in the process. He wasn't just a behind-the-scenes genius. Lee made himself a star, too, with his distinctive appearance popping up in Marvel Comics as early as the 1960s. These cameos evolved into memorable live-action moments in superhero adaptations, cementing his status as the ultimate cameo king. Yet, as we'll explore, Lee wasn't confined to Marvel's world. He spread his charm to other genres, proving his versatility as a cultural icon. And this is the part most people miss. His very first film role wasn't in a cape-wearing extravaganza, but in a little-known comedy horror flick directed by Larry Cohen, a filmmaker known for his eccentric, low-budget gems. At surface level, casting Lee as a Marvel Comics editor in a movie centered on a predatory ambulance prowling the streets of New York might seem like an odd pairing. But when you dig deeper, it's a perfect synergy. Both Lee and Cohen hailed from the Bronx and shared a deep connection to the Big Apple. Lee's superheroes were New York's staples. Think Spider-Man swinging through Manhattan or the Hulk smashing up the city, while Cohen earned his stripes with guerrilla-style filmmaking, shooting on real NYC streets for cult hits like God Told Me To and Q, the Winged Serpent. For beginners unfamiliar with the term, guerrilla filmmaking simply means capturing scenes on location without expensive permits or setups, giving movies an authentic, gritty feel that's both cost-effective and thrilling. The friendship between Lee and Cohen blossomed in the 1980s when Cohen was brought on to script Lee's planned Doctor Strange film. They bonded over their shared roots, even hanging out with comic legend Bob Kane, creator of Batman. Unfortunately, that project fizzled out, but their collaboration didn't end there. Cohen found a spot for Lee in The Ambulance, and as he later shared in an interview with Flashback Files, it was a role tailor-made for the icon. I said to Stan, I think I'm going to make the lead character a cartoonist who works for Marvel. I asked him to play himself. He was really anxious to do it. It was the only time Stan has had some real scenes to play in a movie, and some real dialogue. In the Marvel pictures, he's mostly a walk-on or an extra. With me, he had a real character to play, even if it was the part of Stan Lee. This quote reveals a pivotal moment. Lee got to stretch his acting chops beyond mere blink-and-you-miss-it appearances, showcasing his enthusiasm for the craft. Now, let's unpack the plot of The Ambulance to see how Lee's cameo fits into the mayhem. Starring Eric Roberts as Josh Baker, a stylishly mulleted comic book artist working at the Marvel offices, the story kicks off on a bustling Manhattan sidewalk. Josh musters the nerve to ask out his dream girl, Cheryl Turner, played by Janine Turner, but things go awry when she faints from diabetic symptoms. A vintage ambulance swoops in and spirits her away before Josh can learn her full name. Alarmed, he races to hospitals across the city, only to hit a dead end. No records of her admission anywhere. Lieutenant Spencer, James Earl Jones, a no-nonsense cop, suspects foul play and even eyes Josh as a potential culprit. Things escalate when Cheryl's diabetic acquaintance vanishes too, and Josh himself is poisoned, landing him in the hospital alongside a key ally. Elias, Red Buttons, a seasoned New York Post reporter who vows to dig into the mystery and expose it in the papers. Meanwhile, Cheryl's time is running out under the care of the doctor, Eric Braeden, a villainous figure using diabetics as unwitting subjects in illegal experimental surgeries. Will Josh and Elias rescue her before it's too late? The film blends thriller elements with comedic undertones, exploring themes like medical ethics and urban paranoia in a way that's both suspenseful and surprisingly light-hearted. Lee shines in just a handful of scenes as Josh's affable boss, engaging in witty banter. With Eric Roberts long before his cameo spree became a Marvel tradition. Acting-wise, he was still finding his footing. His delivery feels a bit stiff compared to his later, more polished appearances, but it adds to the charm. This aligns with Cohen's knack for stunt casting, where he often sprinkled in familiar faces to elevate his B-movie magic. For instance, in his other films, you'd find quirky twists like mutant babies or giant creatures, always with a nod to unexpected talent. But here's where it gets controversial. Is venturing outside the superhero realm a smart move for someone as tied to Marvel as Lee? Some fans argue that his non-Marvel appearances diluted his iconic image, turning him into a gimmick rather than a legend. Others see it as a bold expansion of his brand, proving he was more than just a comic guru. What do you think? Was this cameo a genius extension of his persona? Or did it risk overshadowing his core creations? Beyond Lee's presence, the ambulance stands on its own as a delightful watch. As a huge admirer of Larry Cohen's work, think his tales of homicidal infants in It's Alive, skyscraper-dwelling Aztec gods in Q, the Winged Serpent, and killer junk food in The Stuff. I can attest that this film is a standout. On the surface, a plot about illicit medical experiments might sound like a typical thriller, similar to Extreme Measures with Hugh Grant, minus the humor. But Cohen injects it with his signature offbeat flair. He balances serious undertones, like the dangers of unchecked science, with wild digressions, eccentric characters, and over-the-top action sequences that keep things entertaining, without veering into pure horror. The casting is a major draw. Eric Roberts delivers an endearing performance as the earnest artist thrust into chaos, and the energy spikes when he teams up with veteran comedian Red Buttons, whose Golden Globe-winning charisma adds warmth and wit. James Earl Jones brings his commanding voice to an uncharacteristically zany role as the chewing gum-popping detective, chewing the scenery in the best way, while Eric Braeden hams it up gloriously as the maniacal surgeon. And let's not forget the ambulance itself. Filmed from dramatic low angles, it stalks the city like a demonic version of the Ghostbusters Ecto-1, becoming an unforgettable antagonist. Sure, the ambulance isn't spine-tingling scary, but it's packed with laughs and exhilarating moments, like Josh's daring and hilariously perilous escape from the vehicle's rear. Stan Lee enthusiasts will flock for his debut cameo, but stick around for the full ride. It's a riotous entry point into Cohen's unique filmography. If you're new to cult films, think of it as a fun, low-stakes adventure that mixes mystery with absurdity, perfect for a cozy evening. In wrapping up, Stan Lee's leap into the ambulance wasn't just a cameo. It was a testament to his willingness to explore beyond his comfort zone, enriching his legacy in unexpected ways. Yet, it raises questions about how far a creator should stray from their brand. Does branching out like this enhance a legend's mystique, or does it dilute their core identity? I'd love to hear your take. Do you see Lee's non-Marvel roles as innovative or unnecessary? Agree or disagree in the comments below, and let's discuss.